All right, then we'll check this out. Then obviously today is what? It's Sunday, sixth
Sixth.
of July. About 6 in the evening, and this is fucking episode. Excuse my language. This is episode 1 of the Three Boyos podcast. Let's call it.
Let's
It's,
go.
it's myself, Nori. You got Alex up top, all the way up in Aberdeen, and then my man Dale in the bottom. Both United fans, obviously, 2-on-1, Arsenal and United. I'll be the lone gooner as usual, but I'll take that. And yeah, we're just gonna have a rundown and a cheeky little review of the day's events. Obviously, City versus Arsenal in the Community Shield, and then obviously United have played their second game in 2 games. Yesterday, Old Trafford against who did they play? They played against
Lens, wasn't it?
Lens, who finished second in the French. Yeah, only a couple of points behind PSG. And then strangely, they've had a second game today over in Ireland somewhere, probably Croke Park, because it looked like a decent, top-notch stadium.
Is that AVI, is it? Or the AV? The way they play the rugby?
The Aviva Stadium.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and he played Spanish mid-table Athletic Bilbao. Take it away.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, the main game of today was obviously Arsenal versus City.
Obviously.
And there it is. There, brilliant. That's a DMC strike straight away. That's brilliant.
In there, look at that silverware.
Look at that. That's their first major trophy they've ever had at the beginning of a season.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? This is the beginning of
things. The only one this season.
Foreshadowing.
First of all, I'm going to make a big statement here. Is Ramsdale a number 2 keeper when you get David Raya? Because for me, he was abysmal today.
I agree.
His feet was terrible. Can we see your face now? No, because we will get DMC'd for that.
Oh,
but yeah,
I'm not down with the lingo. I'm not down with the lingo as far as what DMC means, but I feel like it's to do with, I don't know what, copyright strike or something.
Yeah, copyright strikes. Yeah, you'll get fined for that shit. You don't want that. So, number 1, Ramsdale, shocking with his feet. Absolutely terrible today. Saved. He wasn't that great with his hands either.
Hold up. Terrible, maybe.
Okay.
Terrible, maybe a slight over-exaggeration, but not good enough.
Okay.
I would go with.
Yeah, I'm comparing him now for who's coming in. David Raya is probably arguably up there with in the next 3 years as probably one of the best keepers with his feet, right? Arguably, he could be. Would you, as Ramsdale, stay at Arsenal knowing that you are eventually going to be the number 2?
Listen. Whether it's in goal, whether it's a centre back, whether it's up front, you need someone pressing you and on your heels, ready to take your place if you don't keep the standards high. So if anything, if he sees Raya coming through the door, then he embraces that as competition and he uses it to better himself rather than seeing it as a threat in the sense that he has to leave to go and search for first-team football. When you find competition, if you're a top professional athlete with a top elite mentality, you thrive and you take on the challenge because it'll push you to be better. Then you should be running for the hills like, oh, look at that, he's coming to take my place. No, I'm going to do better and he's going to stay on the bench. That's how top players act and behave.
Do you think Ramsdale is a top player, though?
I think he's got the makings of one. I did not rate him at all when he came in. He's got 3 relegations on his CV. Sheffield United, Bournemouth, and I can't remember who else. Probably, I don't know. I was going to say Blackpool, but no, I don't see that. Yeah, three relegations in 4 Premier League seasons. He came in for, to me, what was an overinflated price of 35 million. We already had Emi Martinez, who just won the World Cup with Argentina. He bided his time for 10 years, being our number 3 and our number 4 goalkeeper. 10 years he waited. He must have went on like 9 or 10 different loan spells. He finally got a chance when Bernd Leno got injured in the game against Brighton, against that Muppet Neil Maupay, that's his name. And for the last 10 games of the season, he helped win us the FA Cup final and the Community Shield. And then guess what happened? Because he demanded to be considered and start, even after Leno came back from injury. Arteta was like, do you know what? I'm not feeling this attitude. So he sent him back into Aston Villa. Then he went on to win the fucking World Cup. So you can imagine how fuming I was to see us bring in a 3 times relegated goalie in place of a World Cup winning goalkeeper, and he was class as well. His kicking was on point. He was strong. He was tall. He was powerful. He was a presence. He could catch. He ticked every box. But apparently, if you don't bow down to Almighty King Arteta and march to the beat that he's drumming, then you're out the door. But yeah, to be fair, his first season, abysmal. Honestly, I hated him when he came in the door, and I hated him all the way through the season. Last season, however, complete 180, and he turned it around for me. Class, reflex saves, his kicking was on point. I don't know what's going on with his kicking right now, but I know he's got good kicking in him. I've seen it.
We all know he can because we've seen it throughout the season. Last season we've seen it mainly as well. But he is known for making mistakes. Like he made 2 in pre-season already against Manchester United. He made 2 or 3 big ones last season as well.
Sorry, they just lifted. Yeah, I'm listening.
They just lifted the plastic trophy, as you can see. But there you go. It's the 10 trophy. Woo! There you go. Yeah.
Here comes the champions.
But yeah, plastic trophy. There we go. So, you know what I mean. But like I said, for me, David Raya will come in and blitz all over him. I think it's like a Nana coming in for David De Gea. I know it's different circumstances, but I think you'll just come in and you'll absolutely blitz him for the number 1 spot. What do you reckon, Dale?
I agree. I still think Ramsdale will be number 1, though. I don't think Reyes will take over from Ramsdale.
Hang on, how can you agree and then say the exact opposite of what you just agreed to, which is that he would blitz Ramsdale and oust him from the lineup? That means that you don't agree.
I mean, I agree with. I mean, it's 50-50, isn't it? It depends at the time whether Reyes, if he becomes a better goalkeeper, then he'll get chosen and selected, and then Ramsdale then will be in competition to keep that number 1 spot. But it's all depending on how they perform going forward now. But I still think Ramsdale will stay as number 1.
I think you're right in that sense. I think
is that Ramsdale staying as number 1, irrespective of however he performs.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
Wow.
I agree.
So then, what's the purpose of David Raya being brought in?
I think it's, as you said, it's pushing him. So he knows that if you've got a competent number 2 now, he arguably could be one of the best number 1s in the world in years to come. Right? He's still young. I know Ramsdale's young as well. But if he makes a mistake and has a couple of games of like terrible games in a row, he knows he's got David Raya sitting on that bench who will come in and do a job. You know what I mean? He's played in the Premier League before. He knows the league really well. He knows how it works. You know what I mean?
So based off of that, then Ramsdale is not guaranteed to be number 1. Then is he?
No, he's not guaranteed. No.
He'll have a head start as the season starts. By the way, we're talking about a guy who hasn't even been signed by the club yet.
Yeah, but it is basically it's look. You wouldn't sell your number 2 to Nottingham Forest without signing a replacement.
He hasn't yet been sold either.
Didn't it go through this morning?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just reading rumors then.
But
I thought it was already done. I thought it was done deal that he, you know what I
but
mean?
if we're going off of energy and feeling and paper talk, it appears to be the case that that's about to happen both ways. So I guess we've got to talk hypothetically until it happens, don't we? We've got to stay factual, really.
Yes, yeah. And I just want to, while we're on that subject of talking about facts and everything, let's talk about your striking options or lack of striking options at the moment, should we say? Havertz as your striker today. For me, I'll tell you my opinion and then you can go off both of you then. Really good up until you get into the 18-yard box and then he falls apart.
Finishing.
And for me, that's not what a striker should be about. Personally. What do you guys reckon?
I think he's got to take his chances. He needs to practice more on his finishing, I think.
Yeah, obviously, you know what I mean? And he missed 2 sitters, let's be real now. You know what I mean? What do you reckon now?
So, where do I even start with this? I've hated Kai Havertz for the whole of the 3 seasons he was with Chelsea, right? I'm not one of those.
Consistent.
Yeah, I'm not one of those who will look at a rival player at a different team and be like, "Oh, I hate him just because he plays for them." Nah, if he's played and he's banged goals, I'll rate him, and if he hasn't or he hasn't even performed, then I'll slay him. And every time I've watched him, I absolutely want to pull my eyes out of my skull and throw them on the floor and stamp on them because he's been yeah, he's just horrific to watch. He's a horrific footballer to watch for me. Yeah, he's 6'3". Yeah, he glides across the pitch. Yeah, he's quite technical. Yeah, he can hold the ball up. Yeah, he's got all these qualities. But for me, he doesn't have a fixed position. I don't know whether
No.
I don't know whether he's an attacking midfielder. I don't know whether he's a second striker. I don't know whether he's a centre forward. All I know is he's tall and gangly. He's as big as the biggest striker you'll find out there. But then all of the physical attributes needed to be a top centre forward striker, he doesn't have. He's weak physically, you know.
Mm.
So
I
I,
agree.
I think what Arteta has decided is that he's gonna have Kai Havertz as a big technical forward, basically, who will hold the ball up and he'll feed our main threats, which are the 2 guys on the flanks, Saka and Martinez. Hold it up for them, slide them in, and let them slot the goals. And if that's the case, then fair enough, because they can be counted on. They both got double figures in both goals and assists on their own. And then there's other guy behind them as well who we can hold the ball up for as well. So if that's the plan, cool. I'm down with it. I prefer my strikers to be actual goal threats and, you know, fucking, like bang goals and have shots on goal and stuff. But there's nothing I can do about it. He's not my number 1 choice. He wouldn't even be my 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th choice as a centre forward playing for Arsenal Football Club. But here we are, and I've just got to back him. I've got to trust in the process. I enjoyed what I saw last season, so I have to believe in it when I can't see the vision at first to begin with. Time will tell, but right now I'm not with it. I'm not with it. You asked about our striking options, didn't you? Gabriel Jesus is as skillful as any forward on this planet.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing the boy can't do. He's 5'9". He can head the ball like a beast. His leap is brilliant. His heading technique is brilliant. His dribbling is unbelievable. His link play is unbelievable. His work rate is unbelievable. He does not have a weakness. But those kind of strikers who like to get involved in everything like that usually aren't the ones that end up tapping them in at the back post. So there's a bit of give and take with that.
But
If
Kai
Gabriel,
Havertz isn't either of them.
Exactly, but I'm done talking about Kai Havertz. I don't consider him when I think about our strongest starting 11. I just think of him as somebody to throw on when something goes wrong somewhere and an attacker needs to plug a gap.
And as you just said, he will plug a gap, and you paid 65 million for an extremely versatile player who can play all across the front 3 and in number 10. You can do that.
Yeah, one thing that gets overlooked when you look at a player's price tag is their versatility. If you've got Erling Haaland who costs 60, by the way, and Havertz costs 65, which is just like it's vomit inducing. But if you sign me a player who can play in 2 or 3 or even 4 positions and he costs a lot of money, then basically you've signed me a couple of players in one. Where if this is a guy who could only play centre forward, I'd be pulling my hair out of my head and shaving off the rest with a big razor. So the versatility gives me hope.
Yes, yeah, and I guess that's what all your signings have been so far this summer, especially with Timber. With Timber, he could play all across the back 4, and he could play as a CDM because he's done it with Ajax. Do you know what I mean? That's what he played before. He played he played the right side of centre back, but he could play right back, left back. He could play anywhere in the back line. You know what I mean? You got that cover that you didn't have last year when you had injuries, and now you've got that cover with versatility, and they're not bad signings.
Absolutely not. Yeah, just to round off, I know I've gone on for a little bit, but you did ask about our striking options, and we've got more than 2. We've got Eddie Nketiah, who's like an academy graduate. He's young, he's quick, he's nippy, he's sharp, he's hungry. He's a poacher as well. He's like he's like he's like a Poundland Gabriel Jesus, but he has better finishing instincts than Gabriel Jesus. He does get in the right place at the right time, as you saw when your lot came to the Emirates, and then he stole in at the back post for that header, and then there were like 2 flick-ons, and he got on the end of the second flick-on to tap in the winner. Like Gabriel Jesus is not in that area because he's got no interest being in that area. So that's another weapon. That's 3 strikers. And then finally, striking option number 4 is Balogun, another academy graduate. Very, very stroppy, very, you're not giving me minutes. I haven't played in the last 2 games. Just get me out on loan, please. I need minutes. I need to go and play some. We loaned him out. He went to France. He banged 20 goals in the French league, which is not a joke league, as everyone will have you believe. I think he already finished behind Mbappe and Messi. And he got 20. So that shows kind of the level that he was operating at. He's been brought back in. He's barely had a sniff in pre-season. I don't think Arteta likes his attitude either. He's got everything. 6'1", I think he is. He's slim. He's strong. He's fast. He's quick. He's quite technical. Another good goal scorer. A very good threat in behind. Not very good in the play outside of the box. And if he gets kept on, then I'll hang my hat on him to be another striking option. But at the moment, he's not being played, so it doesn't look like he figures in Arteta's plans, which is absolutely.
So is that Arteta biting his nose off to spite his face?
He's done that. He's done that a few times since he's been here. Our star centre back Saliba, he was brought in by the last manager Emery, and then when Arteta took over, he didn't give him a sniff of football. He sent him out on 2 different loans in one single season. While he persisted with Mustafi and Socrates or David Luiz, I think it was. And I'm just there and I'm like, what are you doing? You've got a world-class up-and-coming centre-back and you're bumming him out on loan and we're stuck with these guys. And everyone turned against me when I was fuming at Arteta for it. And his hand was forced to start playing him last season because I don't think he fancied him. I don't think he liked him. Everyone on the planet could see it except for the most important guy, the actual manager of the team. Anyway, he got forced into playing Saliba. He's ended up becoming one of the best defenders in the league, one of the cleanest, strongest, the most technical, the most physically imposing, the most calm, the most composed, the most assured. And he's only 21 or 22. So Arteta is able to have his mind changed, but he is a stubborn SOB, to be fair. So it all really depends on what side of the bed the manager wakes up on as far as Balogun goes. And that's it from me, from our strikers department, I'd say.
Fair enough. I think that's a very good in-depth analogy of your industry. So I'm going to talk about now, I'm going to go something a bit off topic, a bit different. All to do with the game still, but we're going to move into the midfield now. And for me, there's a very interesting from both sides. Obviously, you had Alvarez playing in a really weird role, the way Man City set it, but also the first half, it didn't look like that midfield for Arsenal worked. I don't know what it was. I don't know where they were just playing too deep. I don't know what it was, but it did not work.
I agree.
And for me, I think you noticed the difference in the second half when you've seen Rice and Partey were taking it in turns going forward more, playing more of an 8, but more of an attacking 8 alongside Odegaard, and I think that's where you've seen a lot more opportunities come. I think Partey should have scored in the second half.
Well,
in the second half as well. But carry on.
I'll let Dale have a crack because I don't think I have a crack on the striking options, did I?
I don't know.
Go on, Dale. I'll let you take the
Your
mic.
camera's not working, Dale, but FYI.
It is on.
Yeah, I don't think it's on.
It's just spinning around. Hey, it is.
I thought it was on. I thought you guys could see me.
No. So, what do you reckon on the striking options before we go into the midfield?
I mean, who have you got? If you didn't want to choose Havertz as your striker, who would you choose? Would it be Nketiah? Would you have him up front instead?
Or Balogun. Yeah. It's a toss-up between the two.
Do you think Balogun would be like a first choice striker? Would you think he would be good in that position with the first team?
I can see it. Tall, strong, athletic, young, fast, threat in behind. All we've got is playmakers littered throughout our lineup. Every one of them can thread a through ball for him to get on the end of and slot. So yeah, he's the perfect fit for me.
I know it sounds really silly, but for me, the one signing which you'll never ever get or never ever do, but
Mbappe.
Kane would slot in perfect into that side of yours. Absolutely
He,
perfect.
he
And
would,
that's the issue.
he would, but crossing that North London divide and then also
Never
paying
gonna happen.
100. Well, it happened with Sol Campbell, and if at the end of the day, football clubs are businesses, aren't they? So if Arsenal
Yeah.
slap down 100 odd million for a 30-year-old Harry Kane, I think businessman Daniel Levy is taking that 100 million. You never know. You never know.
How much more do you reckon Arsenal have got to spend this season?
In my dream world, I like to see our academy graduates given a chance. It just feels better. It sits better. Watching Saka absolutely rip up the league, scoring goals against all the big six, scoring goals in World Cup, being named England's Player of the Year, I think in 2 separate seasons. For me, that sits better than slapping 50, 60 million on someone and then them being a success, because there's an expectation then for them to do that anyway. When an academy graduate is brought through, he's from the end, he's from the area, he's been blooded through the system, he knows the club inside and out, from the cooks, the staff, the chefs, the butchers, the bakers, the candlestick makers. It just hits better for me. So in a perfect world, I'd like to see Balogun. I'd like to see Balogun down the middle and our academy bearing the fruits of its labour, and showing that, look, all the success that we've got is Arsenal made. It's not manufactured. It's not Man City 100 million here. It's not Chelsea 600 million there. It's organic. That's my style. That's my philosophy in life, basically. Anyway,
Do you
rather
think
than,
football's past that, though?
well, you've got Marcus Rashford wearing the number 10 for Man United and finishing as the top scorer for your club.
True, but you can't have a whole squad of them. Is what I'm saying. You won't see, like, I don't know, 6, 7 first team graduates all come through at once. You just won't see it anymore. I don't think. Especially
Saka,
in the Premier League.
Saka, Reece Nelson, Emil Smith-Rowe. That's 3 already off the top of the hat.
Yeah, but are they regular first team players? Do you generally think they're regular first team players in that team?
Saka is untouchable for England. Never mind Arsenal. So that's one off off the bat.
Personally, in the recent run of form, I would start Trossard over him personally. But hey,
I wouldn't
he
start.
hasn't been great, is he?
I wouldn't start him over Saka. I couldn't do that. But I would start him somewhere. He has to start Trossard.
Well,
For me,
he's your top scorer so far. I know it's in a pre-season and means nothing, but has Saka scored many this season? I don't really know personally, but
He scored against Barcelona. He scored against MLS All Stars. And and if he doesn't score, he assists. And if he doesn't assist, he wins penalties. He wins fouls. He's always a threat. Today he had an off game, but it's rare for him to have an off game. That's how consistent.
Where would you fit Trossard in then?
I'd have him as the false nine. I'd have him starting in that middle, right down the middle, kind of. The false nine is like a weird position. You almost like feel like you have to explain it to people sometimes. You're basically starting where the striker starts, but you don't play how a striker plays. You kind of tuck yourself back. Yes. Well, it's like a hybrid of CAM and
playing in between the lines, of the cam and the striker.
Exactly. And the centre back trying to pick you up, they don't know what you are. They know that you're starting down the middle, but they're like, well, why is he all the way over there? How come he's floating over there? How come I don't have a striker to mark? And then before you know it, someone else pops in behind you because of the space that he's opened up. So yeah, that's where I'd have him. He
draws defenders out, centre backs out as well, which is really important, especially when you got Martinelli and Saka running in behind or going in behind.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. You've got 2 extreme goal threats. Next on my agenda, personally, would be Ben White.
I'm sorry. Before you get onto this, you asked about the midfield, didn't you?
Oh yes, we did. Yeah, totally forgot about that. The midfield.
Dale, do you want
battle?
Do you want to take this, Dale, or should I?
I think Declan Rice today. I think he had quite a good game, but I think he could have taken a little bit more on the chances he had. He had a good number of tackles, I think, in the midfield against City. Overall, I think he had quite a positive game, especially for like the first main big game for his starting line for a career with Arsenal. Of course, no, he had the preseason where it was just a little bit up and there. We don't know how he's going to play, what position he's going to play, what the style's going to be with the Arsenal team, and we kind of got a little bit of a feel of that today, where he was a little bit on the defensive side, but also coming in with a little bit of an attack as well. That's why I found today.
Yeah, and I kind of agree, but I do think that Partey was probably the best defensive midfielder on the pitch today.
Easily,
you know what I mean?
Easily. Not enough respect on that man's name, I'm telling you. Whenever there's conversations brought up about the best midfielders in the league, the best DMs in the league, it's always the Casemiro and the Rodri talk, which is fine and fair enough because they're obviously both fine players. United are a bigger profile club, so more eyes are on them, and it just goes without saying. But for goodness sakes, we led the league for like 230 something odd days. I think it would make sense for most football fans to keep an eye on who's leading the charge at the top of the league, who's winning most of the games, and how the team at the top of the league for like 4/5 of it are actually playing. And if they did, they'd know that Thomas Partey is an absolute Rolls Royce midfielder. This is a guy, we bought him for 50 million a couple of seasons ago, and I hated him for 2 years. I couldn't stand him. I thought he was absolutely bang average.
Yeah.
But then I think I was comparing him to some of the other DMs that I'm used to seeing play for us before. Just absolute midfield powerhouses. But this guy, last season, he took me completely by surprise, man. His kind of way of just tiptoeing around, it's almost like he's playing in slippers. Getting into making little smart interceptions. His dribbling is underrated as well. Little drop of the shoulder, nip and tuck football, tidy, one-touch passing. He's got a killer pass in him as well. He's a clean tackler as well, so he doesn't get fouled much. He's definitely got weaknesses. I'm not going to say that. I think he's got maybe as many weaknesses as Casemiro, but I think Rodri.
And I think I've got some stats, but that kind of back up what you're saying. But here, so he won accuracy of passing was 96% accuracy of passing. Yeah, he won 100% dribbles. He won 75 accurate long balls, 75% accurate long balls. He won 100% tackles won, and he had the most recoveries out of any single person in that team, out of both teams today. The only thing that he was the lowest on was winning headers, aerial duels, 20%. So, but when you look at Declan Rice, aerial duels won 90%.
Yeah,
enormous, 6'2", built like a centre back.
What I mean? So I think they found a good partnership. They just need to work out. They just need to play together. Personally, I think they just need to play together, work out who's going forward, who's going back, and pick the right opportunities to do so.
With your issues that you raised about the midfield, I completely agree. The MLS All-Star game, Rice looked like an absolute diamond. And in the first, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, I was like, unbelievable. 100 million well spent. This guy looks absolutely dynamite. Powerful, glides with the ball, clean with his work. Fantastic interceptor. Very underrated passer. Very underrated ball carrier. He definitely has. He's got a strike in him as well. But the United game, the preseason friendly that followed that, he was awful. He was awful. I don't think he played against Barcelona in the next game. We won. Today, I wasn't impressed with him. I can't sugarcoat it. But I appreciate that when you're a guy coming from the likes of a West Ham to an Arsenal, and you know that Arteta is not only ruthless, but he's like a methodical tactician as well. So if you don't follow the instructions to the letter, then you're almost petrified of all the consequences. So it looks like he's just playing safe. He's not overdoing too much. But when I've pulled up his highlights in West Ham, there's definitely a lot more that this guy's got to show. So I think it's going to take time to gel, but it is concerning me a little bit. Not his quality, but just his time taken to adapt. Because clearly, after today, we all saw that didn't look like £100 million footballer.
No. And I think for me, him coming in so late for the transfer window as well. I know he's been there still a couple of weeks, but it's still a couple of weeks earlier he could have been there learning Arteta's way, which again, as you said, is very methodical, very tactical. But for me,
I might have to dispel that a little bit. We were in a bidding war with West Ham, obviously. The price kept going up, 80, 85, 90, ended up 105 million. So that was a factor. But
100%.
when he signed for us and we got it over the line, he did come on the tour with us to the US. He did play in our second preseason game, and then featured in a couple of the others after that as well. And he has integrated himself with the squad. So he actually signed a lot earlier than people think. But I think because the speculation started and it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks, it feels like we got it done late. Really, we signed him at a good time. Like if he was signed the same time as Højlund, which was yesterday, that'd be a different story. But I think we got the time. I think we got the timing right there on that one.
Could it be that he's going from a West Ham to an Arsenal? That's the issue.
Exactly. West Ham, David Moyes, Declan, go out and do what you need to do, and he just runs around and he dominates everything.
Yeah.
And then Arteta comes, he's like, right, listen, I want you in that little pocket there, right? When you get it on this side, no, just out and just overcooking it. And he's probably confused the hell out of him. But just a tiny little thing as well. I would like to see another midfielder. I've been going on about Moises Caicedo for as long as I probably, well, as long as the summer lasted. We need another guy in there, man. Partey is not reliable injury-wise, sometimes performance-wise.
I think Chelsea will get Caicedo. They'll get Caicedo, I think. Chelsea.
They've given up.
I think Chelsea will.
They've given up.
I just think that Brighton have outpriced him for everyone. I don't think he's the same price as a Declan Rice. He's nowhere near as experienced. Nowhere near. He definitely hasn't achieved as much. Do you know what I mean? And personally, I think he's a good £75 million player, but nowhere near £100 million player.
I would have paid £100 million for him easily.
I don't know.
I would have paid more as well. Every time he's played against us, he's absolutely bossed it on his own. I saw the semi-final against your lot, against Brighton, and the spaces this guy was picking up.
Yeah, he ran the midfield that day against us.
Ran on his own. 20 years old.
Yeah, true. Well, you got to give Alistair, McAllister, whatever his name is, a shout as well. Come on. You know what I mean? Champions League winner as well. Like, you know what I mean? You can't say he ran it by himself.
World Cup winner, I think, McAllister, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, World Cup winner. What did I say? Champions League.
Same thing.
Yeah. Definitely not the Champions League. One day, you never know. Well, not with Liverpool, anyway. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. But so as we're going to go on to now, Ben White on the right side.
This will be interesting.
He doesn't look like a right winger. He doesn't sound like a right winger. He doesn't move like a right back. But he plays right back like a god. How? It doesn't make sense to me. How tall is he? Do you know how tall is he? 6'2"? He's a centre back, right? You know what I mean? And let's be honest now, if he's playing centre back, then well, maybe Maguire's got a career as a striker, because if he can work miracles like that, maybe they want to sign Maguire and make him a striker, because it's ridiculous what he's done there. Dale, what do you think about this beast being on the right back and doing overlapping runs and whipping the ball in like prime Ronaldinho? What's going on?
I mean, I don't really look much into White on the right side in the game. I mean, what I've seen of him with England, that I mean, is why he's been selected for England. He's in the first team.
He never gets picked. He gets picked and he never plays games. He never comes on. He never starts. And he basically told him to F off in the World Cup, and he went home early. Yeah,
and I probably would have done the same as well. I think that's a different story we can have a little conversation about, but like his selection choices, especially what he does with Saka and Rashford, you could argue.
Rashford
brings him and then doesn't play him, and then he moans him when he goes back home.
Tony.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, it's other reasons why he can't play at the moment, isn't it? Let's be honest now. But
persistence with Maguire, Tomori from AC Milan, winning the Italian league with AC Milan. Not even a backup in the England squad, but Maguire starting games off the United bench.
Yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. I just thought I wanted to. I just wanted to get everyone's opinion on that. So let's go back to Ben White. What do you think?
I'm like you, mate. I'm like you. Again, a couple of seasons ago, we had Saliba. He was already there, signed, sealed, delivered. What did Arteta do? Sent him packing, sent him out on loan. I'm like, what are you doing? You're leaving us with Mustafi and Socrates and one of the other clowns. You're sending this prospect out on loan, and then you're spending 50 million on Ben White from Brighton. Why the hell? Why the hell are you overpaying for this guy? Why are you getting this guy? And then when he came through the door again, it had to be like, all right, let's have a look, give him a chance, see how it goes. Turned up against Brentford, first game of the season, the curtain raiser, the season opener. Lost most of the headers, given the absolute run around at centre back. This is, and that was it for me. I was like, I'm not feeling this guy at all. The circumstances didn't help, but then watching him perform, I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Overspending on crap and garbage. Then last season rolls around. In an injury to our right back Tomiyasu meant that there had to be a reshuffle for the first game of the season against Palace. So Ben White was shifted out to right back, and Saliba, who I don't think Arteta had in his plans, was put in at centre back. Since that game against Palace, the very first game of the season, until the end of last season, I couldn't believe what I was watching. You got this big 6'2", kind of silky, marauding centre back, just gliding up and down the flank, linking, popping little triangles with Saka, playing in behind and stuff. I'm like, it started making me question, like, do I even know anything about football at all? Because I have no idea how this is happening, where this has come from, how this has come to be, how Arteta has got this guy playing like this. But fair play, man. Yeah, a
He's got an
strange,
engine on him.
crazy engine. And if you look at him as well, the shape of him, he's built perfectly for what a footballer needs to be. Strong, but slim, slender, and lightweight. And he gallops like a gazelle down that flank as well. He times his tackles well. He's a much better footballer. He's probably as good a footballer as a lot of people's midfielders at right back. His touch is unbelievable.
Well, he kept Grealish very, very quiet today, and that's testimony, because he arguably was one of the best wingers last season in the Premier League, arguably.
Yeah, I'm on. As far as Ben White, I'm as stunned as you, mate. I don't know how he looks as good as he does with how he looks
No idea.
No idea. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it.
I bet you would, because I would be taking it, that's for sure. I just want to talk about two more points now, just before we end. For me is the goal that you conceded. It was quite obvious for me as a viewer, as not being an Arsenal fan, of what went wrong, and it was two major substitutions. When you look at it, it came from the right hand side, and you took two of the arguably your best players off, or two of your strongest players who work hard, and that was Martinelli and Timber. You know what I mean? They both came off, and arguably, sorry, it was their left hand side, but it came from City's right hand side, didn't it? So yeah, you know what I mean. Arguably, they got changed, and Martinelli is not just a winger, but he's a workhorse as well. He'll get back, he'll do the hard graft. And I think that's what went wrong during that goal, personally. And obviously, Timber's experienced. He's a very, he's a Champions League quarter-finalist, semi-finalist, whatever. He's played in a very structured team before, and Ten Hag, obviously, he's very, very precise and very similar to Arteta in the way they play, or would like to play at that time. I know we argue about how they want to play now, but for me, I think that's the issue. The substitutions were made at the 75th to 76th minute, and the goal came a minute later. You can't call that a coincidence, can you? Let's be honest now.
I think throughout the whole game, I think Timber saved Arsenal from conceding about 4 goals. I think easily, like the blocks, the intercepting, the tackling, getting in the way of the ball in front of the goal. He was just there. He was just solid today. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I gotta agree with that, and I think
United.
40 million.
Deal.
Think about it. Last season, Dale, how much were they trying to charge us last season for him? When we went in for them?
When he got 60, 70 million?
Yeah, easy. 60, 70 million. So you saved yourself 20 million on a player who's grown and got more experience. What? That makes no sense to me personally, but yeah, brilliant signing for Arsenal. I think he's going to be a game changer for you, especially in the fact that he can play multiple positions across the back line as well. And last but not least, we're going to go off the Arsenal game for a minute, and we're going to talk about my mate, my best friend, Mr. Slabhead, Maguire, again doing his brilliant trick as normal of passing it to an attacker and then taking 3 days to turn around. Dale, you were watching this game a little bit more than I was, but I seen that moment, and I think I'm glad I watched the Arsenal game in the end. Yeah, talk to me.
I mean, Maguire in the first half. I mean, I could see that he was a bit all over the place as usual. Pressure was too much on him.
Mm-hmm.
Passing the ball back, and the players were pushing up on him, passing it and running as far back as almost the goalkeeper, almost losing it. A couple of times in the same kind of like situation, but and then eventually, of course, it happened, and he had lost the ball, and eventually the goal happened. But that's of course the reason why I think United are in the speculation of selling him, because he's not, in terms of our mentality, our structure of play, in terms of what we want from our centre backs. He made a few good run throughs, I think, in the second half up front. Quite surprisingly, ran like almost a full half by himself. He also assisted the goal with Pellistri, which was quite surprising. Pellistri had a very technical, very, very good, I would say, shot, which is quite difficult of a guy of his size to do in terms of being under pressure by a player as well. In the box right at the last minute, quite similar to how Arsenal got it in the last minute as well. It was, I think, watching both games at the same time.
Do you think it's time for Maguire to leave Manchester United? I don't think that we play the same style of football as he is, I would say, used to. Being, you know what I mean? I think he's perfect for a back five. You check him in a West Ham with a back five, you'll love it all day. He'd be one of the best players in the team. But at any top four, arguably 6 to 17 now, top six, he's not even getting a sniff. Let's be real now.
I think after the first year of seeing him at Man United, I think I knew straight away, like during when it was a pandemic and it was empty stadiums and such, going that far back, I could see there were things becoming really bad in terms of the way that he was playing. I was like, Maguire's making so many mistakes. I don't know if it was like the communication between him and Lindelof. I don't know if there was like a barrier between that. I always felt that there was. But I think Maguire just needs to move on from United, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a big call today. He's removed him of the captaincy. He's in a youth game, and the two major senior players are Harry Maguire and Heaton, and he gives Heaton the armband. I think that's a big sign of get the fuck out of my club.
Big town.
You can't say it more than that, really. Anybody stood out for that game youth-wise for you, Dale?
Youth-wise, I think Pellistri. I think another good player on out of the first team, Wan-Bissaka, had another very good game on that right side. Same as usual, very good passing, very aware of people around him, getting in those short passes to Pellistri, getting a few crosses in. Of course, he needs to kind of work on those crosses if he wants to continue being in that right back position, because he needs to kind of work on that, because we want that from him in terms of in terms of strike force. Yeah, and especially if you've got a striker coming in now, you're going to want him to have his head on that ball, and he needs to perform on that.
Well, we have got a striker coming in eventually, even though we bought him when he's injured. But hey, we're not going to mention that. We got a striker now, so that's the main thing. But for me, I'm really interested in seeing this Daniel Gore, see how he goes. Personally, I would loan him out, but he looks like a really good midfielder, very versatile. Very intrigued to see how he gets on. Hopefully next season he'll be part of the first team, but at the moment I think he'll just be loaned out. I think Wan-Bissaka is our first choice right back, personally. Over Delo. I think Delo's too, well, as you've seen, for the goal. That I still argue that is not Onana's fault, but hey, we're not going to get into that. But
You
yeah.
should.
What do you
It
mean?
depends.
You should get into that.
Well,
It
for
depends.
me, I can't see how you can blame Onana. How can you blame Onana, who plays an extremely high line, which he's told because he's a sweeper keeper, right? You want him, if that ball gets picked up, say, I don't know, just on the halfway line, and they play a through ball over the top, you want him there to clean that, sweep that ball up. That's where you want him. If he's not there, then he's not doing his job, right? The reason we bought Onana in is for that playmaking style from the back, that high line we can play, and he can sweep up the rest. If you want him back on your goal line to stop the chips like that, go and sign David De Gea on a free. You know what I mean? Because he'll be standing on that line having a picnic still. You know what I mean? So for me, he done everything right. For me, the issue is the poor pass by Delo. Varane's legs are gone.
Important point. The most important point is that one.
And I think you can't really blame Martinez. He's over the other side. But the other thing is the striker hit the first time. He hasn't took a touch. The striker's literally hit it first time in his stride.
World class.
You know what I mean? It's just pinpoint accuracy and a great strike. I think you just got to hold your hands up and say, Delo, that's your issue. Varane, you need to keep an eye out for stuff like this because obviously you was expecting the ball in front of you and behind you. That's just lack of communication. And Martinez, well, good luck trying to stop at me because you got no chance. And Onana's done everything right personally, but hey, you know what I mean. If that's Alisson or anyone, nobody mentions it, do they? Because they know he's a sweeper keeper, right? You were saying about Varane. Sorry, you were saying about Varane.
If this wasn't Onana being chipped in 2 back-to-back games, we'll ignore the halftime substitution on against Dortmund. Then this wouldn't be as much of a concern as it is.
Yeah.
But the way that attacker hit that ball first time as soon as he intercepted it and chipped Onana, that's not really a thing that normally happens in a game of football. I feel like you guys have opened yourselves up to coaches drilling their troops and telling them and letting them know, hey, if you nick that ball whilst my man is out of goal, go for him, go for goal, lob him, try it. Because most professional footballers can score a goal from the halfway line with a ping.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like 2-2. The first one, Jude Bellingham, 5 minutes in against Real Madrid, and he got dinked from outside. He got dinked from outside of his box. Now, this wasn't you being caught high up the line. This is you caught in your own half, really, and he still got dinked. I think you're going to have to work on that. But then, basically, Onana is doing his job as far as he's concerned because when he's receiving the ball, he's distributing it to his defenders. But then the breakdown happens when United's midfielders and defenders are not good enough to retain the ball. They lose the ball, and then he gets consequenced for their mistakes. So I agree, it's not Onana's fault. Onana has to take a portion of the blame because as high up the pitch as you're playing, you also have to remember your primary goal is to keep goal, is to be a goalkeeper, a keeper of the goal, a protector of the goal, someone whose number one concern should be keeping that ball out of the net. You know, and being prepared if somebody goes for something audacious like that and having enough cover to prevent that from happening, you know. So there's a portion of the blame to be shared all around. But I think the bigger portions of it go to Delo for the ball he plays pass. But I think it could be a bit of a blessing in disguise because that's a little bit of a tell there on Rafael Varane's recovery abilities and how much they've declined as well. Yes. The pass went behind him, right? So as a centre back, if you're in your prime, right, and you're in
a million miles away from him. Let's be honest, it wasn't a million miles.
Exactly, and if you see the way that he scrambled to turn his body to go back, it looked like there was a struggle there. It looked like an old age, kind of broken kind of player. And for a guy whose biggest asset is his pace and his composure, for that to happen, that shows you that there's a decline in the guy, and that you're probably gonna have to look at replacing him fairly quickly, man. Because with his injury record as well, you are more likely to see the likes of a Harry Maguire and a Lindelof playing more games for Man United than you would have even thought. Because the
Yeah,
minute he's
that's a worry for me. That is.
those two are next in line.
For me, though, the biggest telltale sign was when we were trying to buy Kim and Jay. You don't buy Kim and Jay to put him
To
on the
bench.
bench.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure Bayern Munich are not going to be benching the guy right now. You know what I mean?
No, he's not.
And I think what we've done instead, we've gone, you know what, right? I think we can risk another year with Varane. I think we're going to risk it. And I think we're going to go Anana instead. Because I don't think the plan was to get rid of David De Gea. If I'm really honest, right now.
I think the West Ham game was the final nail in the coffin, where he basically chucked the ball and he let a P roller go in, and you lost the game 1-0.
Yeah, that was, and obviously the 2 goals with Man City in the final as well, which one of them was, let's be honest now, should have been saved. The second goal.
I think his head was on the chopping block before the FA Cup final, and it was already done. Yeah, don't forget the game against Seville, the game where you were 2-0 up and then you ended up going out 5-2 on aggregate. He was at fault for a lot of what happened in that second leg as well.
Yeah,
and that was him hanging on to his United career by a thread. Then the West Ham game for me, I think, is the one where it just finally went. And I was like, I can't suffer this no more. You're costing us. Like, you're a great servant of the club. You pulled off fantastic wonder saves, like being the best keeper in the world for different periods over the course of the last 10 years. He's got unbelievable reflexes. His saving with his feet. I've not seen a keeper like that ever, probably in my life. Maybe Schmeichel's up there, but I've never seen a keeper go for saves with his feet first as an instinct over his hands the way David De Gea does, and it works because your feet are longer, your legs are longer than your arms. So fair play to him, great servant.
Shame he couldn't use his feet to kick a ball, right?
Strangely, and when you're a Spaniard as well, I mean, what are Spanish footballers known for? They're known for their comfortability with the football, their feet, their technical ability.
You're linked to one now. That rare.
Right. Yeah.
Very good with his feet.
But it was just strange to see a Spaniard who wasn't comfortable with football at his feet. Alien to me, that. I'm not trying to stereotype or nothing, but it's just part of the culture, isn't it? Passing tiki-taka football.
Yeah.
Real Madrid, Barcelona, you know?
Especially going through the Atletico Academy as well. I know that they're not known for, but they still got the Spanish model within them. Do you know what I mean? It would have been weird if he went through, I don't know, Brighton's academy. Then you might go, okay, yeah, maybe there's something going on, but definitely not. You know what I mean? So yeah. Any further points from you guys?
I think of the United games, not today's one against Bilbao, but yesterday's one against Lens, the French team, the game against Dortmund, the game against Real Madrid. There are positive signs, but I think your manager has got a ton of work to do, man. And I don't. Although your signings look like he's addressing some of these things, I think his coaching isn't addressing a lot of these things as well. You don't really look all that much better in possession of the football for me. United, for the last whoever's been managing, have been very good at counter-attacking. You could probably counter-attack most teams with your eyes closed, whoever was managing them. But United with the football in possession are horrible.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And there's only one person that falls at the feet of, and that's the guy on the training pitch drilling instructions into them.
Yeah. And,
Man City didn't used to suffocate teams, right? Like they did today against us, in the way that Pep Guardiola has got them doing it now, right? And you look at the players. Kyle Walker, has he ever been a world-class technician? Not really. He was fast and rapid and strong. Akanji, some guy from Dortmund, he's not really known to be a ball-playing centre-back. He's got him looking like a prime Nesta out there.
He got him quite cheap as well, right? Akanji?
Yeah, fairly cheap.
Million?
But if you notice, wherever Pep goes, the model follows him. The personnel, the players, the squads, they all change, but the identity is identical. So what does that tell you? That tells you the coach's influence is everything in how a team plays.
Yeah,
so
I gotta come back at you at that point, and I think when he did come in, first of all, I think the first 2 games of the Premier League last season he played, and when he got hammered, he tried to play his style of football. He tried to play that. We got hammered. We could not cope with it. What was it, 4-0 and whatever it was. We got hammered, right? And he tried
Yeah.
it, and you thought, you know what, scrap it. I'm going to go back to very basics, build a defence,
Yeah.
work from there, and go from it. I know
Appreciate
it's a
that.
year in advance, right? I know we're a year ahead, and he's bought in his own signings, but he's still got some of them root problems there. Remember now, we had who's the guy who came in? I forgot. It's Ranić, right? Probably one of the great architectures of a football club in the modern game, right? All the Leipzig teams, all the Red Bull teams, whatever, right? He's made them all. He's structured them all, right?
That's
Up to
director
top.
of football role.
Yeah, 100%. He came in and he said, you need 10 to 12. You need open heart surgery, he said. You need 10 to 12 brand new first team signings plus a whole new bench. That is not up to the standard of playing the modern way. And we've done most of the signings, right? And this is where I think you're coming into it. He's brought in the players he wants and he's still not achieving it as current, which for me is more of a worry. But you've got to give him time still. Them players are still coming in, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping if by like April, May, and we're still not playing that style of football that I'm expecting from Ten Hag, the style of football that we've seen at Ajax, then for me, there's got to be questions asked, and then it's got to be looked into what type of football club we want to be and what style of football we want to play. For me personally.
And I can't be fair and say Ten Hag hasn't improved United in football terms, because I look at the goalkeeper position that's been addressed ruthlessly. He was ruthless with that. The Ronaldo situation, even though I didn't agree with it, he was ruthless with it. And the best managers tend to operate like that, with ruthless efficiency. Pep Guardiola come in, didn't fancy Joe Hart. Out you go, Tara, see you, don't care. Nothing. Out you go. Yaya Toure, okay, give him a season, and then he bunged him out, and he still had miles on the clock to go. So he addressed the goalkeeper situation ruthlessly. The Aaron Wan-Bissaka thing, I remember when he was frozen out for a couple of weeks or months, and it looked like he didn't have a career. He was being linked, loaned to Palace, and this, that, and the other, sold, and that. No one came in for him. He came back. He was putting extra sessions in, and he does look a lot more comfortable on the football now than his first time around with United. So fair play. He's definitely worked on him. Luke Shaw, obviously, you know, he normally gets kind of like digs and jabs and pokes about his weight because he's quite heavy in the chest and quite big in the back end.
He's bulky.
But if you look at his midriff, his waist, his midsection, he's trimmed down. His shirt is like kind of is loose on him, you know. So
yeah,
and he looks very tidy and accomplished with the football at his feet for whatever fault. Yeah, Garnacho, he's blooded him. I think that you could have done that with your eyes closed, though. The kid's a star, and he looks like a star. He's got the Argentinian background. He's been called up to the Argentina squad already. He's a dazzling little winger. He always does his hair. It's hard not to look at him and be like, yeah, I like the look of you. So that was
number 7, you would say, right?
There we go. There you go. Mickey Mount had to have it, didn't he?
Mickey Mount, yeah. No, let's be honest. Like, he's been an absolute shambles so far, and he hasn't been great. You know what I mean? He hasn't been great. He's been a 5 out of 10 for me.
From the beginning to the end, or to the current of the whole Mason Mount saga, I don't understand why United were interested in him. I don't understand why you paid what you paid for him. I don't understand what business he has be playing for Man United. He's proper Chelsea through and through him, you know, Cockney geezer and all that. All right, he comes from Portsmouth originally, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't understand why you're giving him a shirt number with that much weight on it, and you're looking at like George Best, Cristiano Ronaldo, David Beckham, Antonio Valencia.
Yeah, you didn't have to check that one in, did you? Come on now, let's be honest.
Angel Di Maria. I don't know if Alexis Sanchez had it, maybe, but
he had number 7,
so on and so forth. And he doesn't even fit the profile of these kind of players, either in a positional sense, right wing basically, or winger, or in a superstar marquee signing kind of sense. So it just makes absolutely no sense to me. The only thing, the thing that I believe it is with the Mason Mount thing is that when Ten Hag used to coach over in the Netherlands, Chelsea had a feeder club over there called Vitesse. They would constantly send all their youngsters out. And Mason Mount was one of them that had a season over in the Eredivisie, and he had a standout season. So obviously when Ten Hag is coaching against Vitesse, and his Ajax team are playing against him, he stood out like a sore thumb, and he's kept it in his mind forever, and he's followed him everywhere, and he's taken an opportunity to be like, oh, right, he's available for hire here. Let me go and get him. So he's got a bit of that favoritism thing going on about him. He does. Mason Mount, initially when he came through, he was absolutely brilliant. He helped Chelsea win the Champions League. He had standout performances against Real Madrid. I think he scored at the Bernabeu. He set up a couple. He was just twisting up defenders. He looked like a central midfielder that had legs and had technique and had the ball on him as far as crossing. He had an eye for a pass. He had an engine. His first touch, spin and pivot turn, that thing he does as good as anyone on the planet. That move when you receive a ball and you kind of spin off with it first time, he's one of the best I've ever seen at doing that. So he's definitely got his qualities, but I think you were better off addressing another more important or problematic position in the team than spending 60 on this Mason Mount experiment thingy. So it doesn't make sense.
But I can see why he's done it. Number one thing that has been an issue with Manchester United is the players have got too much power. Okay, the players have always got the manager out, no matter what. They got Ollie out. They got everyone out, right? Okay, they've always rebelled. They've always done that. So what he's done, he's brought players he knows, he respects, into the football club. Yeah. So he's got all of his old Ajax teammates. He's got Mason Mount. He knows what he's like. But also, don't forget now, we had we brought Eriksen in, right? Who's arguably a number 10, right? Ex-Ajax, yeah, or arguably a number 10, right? Personally, I see him as a number 10 as his best position. I don't see him as an 8. And that's where I see Mason Mount is more as a number 10 than a number 8. But he loves playing a number 10 and number 8. I don't know why. I don't know what is. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. And this is why I'm looking forward, hopefully, fingers crossed, to this Amrabat coming in, who could possibly sit next to Casemiro and go as a number 10, as a number 8, sorry, but a lot more attacking with that defensive mind. Instead of an attacking number 8, we've got a defensive number 8, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that will make sense.
Yeah. Amrabat in an ideal world would play where Casemiro plays, not alongside him.
That's true.
He's got a bit more about him with the ball, so they definitely can play alongside each other. But if you've got those two there in the central midfield pivot, then you've only got one more space for a 10. And Bruno Fernandes is obviously the club captain, so he's going to have to go to him. So I don't know how that kind of gets shuffled around, how that pack gets shuffled. I've seen Bruno getting put out on the right wing, which is a complete waste. And then you end up kind of suffering for that because you've got no threat in behind on the right flank. Another Ten Hag kind of favourite thing that he likes to do. Bruno on the left. We saw what happened at Anfield. It was an absolute mauling, so much so I think Bruno was asking to be subbed off. If I can recall.
That's not true. That's
fake
news.
Yeah, but his body language, everything. When he got done up by that Liverpool kid with the low socks, and he just kind of let him. And I think they made it 6 or they made it 7. He's throwing his hands up in the air like that. It's not really captain material, but I get it. When he's on his day, Bruno, he is captain material. So I think
he's one of those captains who leads by his performance, not by his attitude. And when his performance is not on par and his attitude leads, then that's an issue. Do you know what I mean? But that's when you need a Casemiro, a Varane with their knowledge and experience to pull him aside and say, "Fuck up." You know what I mean? Stop being a cunt, like, basically. You know what I mean? And just need to wise up.
Which makes it strange why he got given the armband. I know he was like the clear and obvious candidate, but as a captain,
because of last year he was the captain, I think, and he was number 2 and always has been number 2 to Maguire, and I think it's just a natural progression, personally. And obviously the team must respect him, otherwise Ten Hag wouldn't have picked him, right?
Yeah, I honestly, when you just lay all the names down, he does stick out like a sore thumb as the best fitted to lead United as their club captain, one of the most consistent performers. But obviously, he's got these faults in him that make you think, actually, is he really captain material? So it's a bit of a weird one. All in all, though, probably the best pick. I mean, who else were you going to pick anyway? Yeah.
I would have probably gone with Casemiro personally. But then again, how many games he's going to play this year? He doesn't look
Do
the
you know?
sharpest.
But yeah, another big problem, man. Like for as good as Casemiro was last season, you paid 70 million for a 29 or 30-year-old midfielder who's already got 5 Champions Leagues behind him. I'm not sure how much more hungry he is for any more trophies like that. And if he's happy just coasting on his, I don't know, 250k a week, just happy to see out the rest of his career at a big club like United.
Yeah.
So there's that element. The
You're known for
friendly,
that, oh me.
yeah, signing close to over the hill ex Real Madrid players, and oh look, he's from Real Madrid. Oh, he's won this, so therefore he's going to bring that here. And really, Real Madrid have squeezed the juice out of this orange, and they've left you with the pulp, basically. Don't get me wrong, there is a quality footballer in there, but
100%.
when you hit 30, I'm telling you, you are a completely different player from when you were from when you were 25. And if you are a player that relied on physical attributes, what's the first thing to go when you hit your 30s? Not your technique, not your smarts. It's your
No
speed,
legs.
it's your power, and it's your legs. Exactly. So
I
that's an
think
issue.
that's why we would benefit for Amrabat coming in.
Yeah,
Even if it
yeah,
just, maybe not like replace him, but just even if
help,
he
help.
takes 10, 15 games away from him, comes on at half time. Look how many 90-minute games Casemiro played last year when he
Too
wasn't
much,
getting sent off. You know what I
too
mean?
many,
Like,
too many for
yeah,
them.
you know what I mean? It's way too many. And another thing that I want to bring up quickly, when we mentioned sending offs, these new yellow card rules. There are going to be so many sending offs this year from little habits of kicking the ball away or holding the ball instead to stop him. All these are yellow card offences now. Doing this yellow card offence, you know what I
What,
mean?
when I saw these trends, when I picked up on it a couple of years ago, and players were involved in a tussle, then it gets a decision given against them, and then what they do is they pick up the ball from dead play, they carry it under their arm, they continue the conversation back and forth with the ref about why did you give a foul against me? They're walking back that way, they're holding the ball and preventing the play from continuing,
Yeah,
and then they're kind of chucking it somewhere else for the guy to go and run after and put it back on the spot. Like, to me, how has that been allowed to go on for so long? It don't make sense. And when they kick it away as well, like, you're blatantly holding up the game. So the minute that they set the tone for today's game, now should set the precedent for that no longer being a trend.
100%.
I've never liked that attitude. I've never understood it.
No. And I
Don't
think
get me wrong.
Alvarez topped it off today when it wasn't even that far. He kicked
No,
it probably like, 5 yards, if that, out
exactly.
of play. Just like
It's not
kicked it away.
acceptable.
Yellow
I mean,
card, boof.
it's not acceptable. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. If I get fouled, or if I commit a foul and it's right close to, or my team is about to be hit on the counter attack, I'm not serving up the ball for the guy to go and take the free kick so I can get done up being out of position, right?
No,
I'll
no.
but I'll leave it. I'll
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
do I'll do something in between, but I won't boot it away. That is blatantly saying, "Hey, hang on, look, I'm buying time to get back into my position. Nah, take a booking."
The rule states now that they have to leave the ball until the team who obviously got the foul comes and collects it. Which for me, I think is I'm happy with that decision personally. I don't think many Newcastle fans would be too happy, mine, because they were masters of that towards the end of the season when so we'll
Hate it.
see.
I hate it every time I see it. I hate it, and I don't know why it goes unpunished. But there we go. They've sorted that now.
Hey, look at the Everton. Remember the Everton Liverpool derby? I can't even remember. Was it? I don't know who was home, but Everton, Pickford lying on the ball for ages, because I thought your keeper was going to do it. Ramsdale right at the
Mm,
end, and
mm.
I seen him and he got back up straight away, and I was like, yeah, because they're clamping down on yellow cards for that now. If they lie on the ball for ages and stay there, that's a yellow card. So that's why Ramsdale got up really quickly. I think he remembered halfway through. He was like, "Oh shit, okay, need to get up now."
So
But
here's another quick weird thing about that whole situation, right?
mhm.
There's been a rule that's been in time for as long as I can remember, right? It's called the 6 second rule, basically.
Yeah,
Whenever a keeper picks it up, they've got 6 seconds to either put it down on the floor and then kick it or pass it out, or to boot it from out of their hands, right?
mhm.
And even playing on FIFA, right? Your goalie would pick it up and you see the little timer pop up: 6 seconds, 5, 4,
Yes,
3.
that's true.
But it's never applied in real football. And
Mm.
keepers constantly get away with it. If they're finally going to be punished and penalised for it now, the game will be all the better for it, man.
It's all in the rules, in it, and I think if it goes off by today's game, which today's normal game is normally sets the standard for football in the Premier League from now onwards. You know what I mean? And I think it was very clear that the yellow cards were yellow cards for reasons. You know what I mean? And
Brilliant.
yeah, and
Do
you
you-
don't get the master, the maestro himself, the god sent himself, Howard Webb there for no reason. You know what I mean? So
Do you know another little quick tidbit on the rule update?
Mhm.
Is the oh, what was I going to say now? What was I going to say? They've introduced another one, haven't they? Dale, are you there? Is Dale still there, by the way?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh God, he's alive.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's another rule that they introduced, isn't there? Come on. Oh, yeah. So today, after the 90 minutes, you saw the fourth official put up a board, and it had 8 minutes on it, right? Which is obviously very unusual. And it's like a major head injuries happen, and there's paramedics coming out with a stretcher, and the games have to be stopped. Blah blah blah. They're now taking every single second of every single break, and they're tallying it up, and then they're adding that, which for me should have always been the flipping case. Day one of the World Cup in Qatar, I don't know if you remember, or what one of the games anyway. The injury time they gave in the first half was like 10, 11 minutes. Me and my friend looked at each other like that. We're like, what? And then, where's that come
Yeah.
from? And then in my mind, I was like, you know what? Imagine, right, that they've actually applied all the wasted seconds to real life, and they've actually done it. And now the Premier League are literally applying that exact same thing. To me, that makes total sense. I don't care. For me, I get 10 more minutes of football to watch, and I'm happy days with it.
and I think that's why Arsenal United's pre-seasons have been a lot more intense than the other Premier League teams in preparation for this. Knowing that it's going to get towards the end of the season, people are going to feel it in their legs. You know what I mean? And I think that's why Arsenal are doing really good signings and getting two decent players in every single position. And I think that's what United are trying to do. I think that's what City are trying to do. But City, I didn't even know anything about City's pre-season, if I'm really honest. But hey, they're not really.
It's been spotty. It's been spotty. They've done just about enough to get over the line and win games.
Oh, is it really? There you go.
think-
So,
But then you see when a trophy's on the line, they dominate the ball for 80% of the match, and they look like they're picking up where they left off.
to be fair, they didn't look the fittest towards the end of that game, where
We're
Arsenal did.
we were definitely a few games ahead of them as far as preseason schedule. But when you've got a team who can keep a football like that effortlessly, then they don't really need to do that much running anyway in a game. So
Well, I guess when your manager's taking the whole team out to the Japanese restaurant the night before, I guess, you know what I mean? That's how serious they're taking it, right?
they moved on noodles.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's me done anyway, guys. I haven't got no more questions or anything. So have you got anything else now?
A last one from me, and I'll let you crack on a second, Dale. But how would you rate your window out of 10? United's window out of 10.
As of current, as of today,
Right now, not looking at the potential Amrabat.
4 out of 10.
Wow.
And
Wow,
I'll tell you
man.
why. I'll tell you why.
Wow.
Who have we sold?
Your incomings.
Incomings, just incomings. Well, incomings then you're probably looking about 7, 6, 7.
I was looking at 6.
I wouldn't say.
Wow.
I wouldn't
You
say
would
it's
go
been
as low as 6. You would go as low as 6.
We haven't got none of our first choices, mate.
Mount wasn't my. I didn't really want Mount to come into the team, to be honest. He wasn't my choice at all. He was very surprising for me to come into the United team. Onana, I already hinted at this before. I knew that Onana was going to be a priority keeper for us. I already had him on mind as soon as the season was over. I said Onana is going to be our next keeper. I can see it coming from Inter. And then I think I would have probably, I don't know. I know where Harry Kane's got only a few years left, but I probably would have chosen Kane over our current striker signing.
Over most strikers.
Just because he would get those goals in this year, I think Kane would. I think with the stats of the striker that we got coming in now, I don't think they're going to meet the stats of what Kane could potentially have over the next year, and that's
Who did you
what I'm
sign?
worried about.
Who did you sign instead of Kane?
Um,
Ireland.
Ireland.
Go on, Dale.
trying to catch me out. See, I try
Hodgland.
not to say his name now. We're like keeping him down there like Voldemort.
Hodgland.
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 Like for me personally, my issue with the transfer window is that we've got one striker, and we've still got one striker even with the signing. We needed a minimum of 2 strikers. We can't clash Greenwood. Fucking Greenwood's not going to be in this first team. I guarantee you he's not. I promise you they will not bring him back. Do you really think a brand ambassador is going to let that kid play football again for Manchester United? No chance in hell. No chance in hell.
He's got interviews over the next few days, and apparently he's starting the first game of the season. They're looking to.
The kid hasn't played football for 18 months, mate.
Because we haven't got a
competitive game.
Because we haven't got a striker until September, so he's the only way that we got our own striker in the team.
Mate, I'd rather get Weghorst on a fucking 6 months loan than play him. I'd rather have Weghorst. Get Wout back. You know what I mean?
If you you're funny. If you ask me about United's window, I'd honestly give it a 7.5, potentially 8.
Really?
Because I am
intrigued now.
I'm super impressed with the signing of Onana. I can't believe the United have actually gone out, addressed a problem position, and got a top class player to correct and amend that issue in that problem position. The keeper position for me is one of the linchpins of every single team on the planet, and you've addressed it with probably the best distribution keeper on the planet right now at the moment. So absolute hats off there. I know he's got faults, but at the end of the day, you know, you look at the pros, don't you?
Personally, I would spend that money on a centre back.
The Mason Mount signing, I look at as like a Havertz type signing. Absolutely not needed, but you know what? He's here, so we'll take him. So it's a bit of a sideways kind of shuffle thing. So that's what gets it down to a 7.5 from an 8. If it was an Amrabat instead, I would have possibly given you guys an 8, maybe. The Højlund signing, I think a lot of United fans are quite underwhelmed because they don't really keep their eye on European football as much as you'd expect football fans to.
If I'm really honest with you, I don't really know much about him.
Which is,
you know what I mean? Which I'm not ashamed to admit. Like not admit. Like, you know?
It's fine. We're all adults. You know, we've all got lives, kids, children, grandmothers, grandparents, sick, elderly, whatever it might be. I just happen to be obviously football obsessed, so I just keep an eye on everything. And this Højlund guy, back in January when the window was open last season, and we needed a striker when Jesus was out, I wanted him. I wanted someone that was big, that was fast. When I say big, I mean 6'2" or 6'3", but fast as well. I wanted a poacher, someone who kind of put their head in places where you probably get a broken nose if you went in with another centre back. I saw him score a hat-trick against for Denmark against someone, and I was beyond impressed, man. First goal of the hat-trick, it was like first goal of the hat-trick, someone fizzed the ball across the face of the box, and he got like a toe on it. But then you look at it, and it wasn't lucky. It was like an anticipated toe. It was like a Van Nistelrooy style. Oh, look at me, I'm stealing in there. Boom, there you go. Just picked your pocket, 1-0. The next one, it was like a little scrap in the box. He got it out of his feet, bang, wallop with his other foot, and it was 2-0. And then for his hat-trick goal, he scored like I think it was like a diving header from like a really fast fizzed cross. So he scored the perfect hat-trick, left foot, right foot, head. Every one of those goals, gutsy, brave, predatory, instinctive. And I just thought, you know what? I'd love to have a striker like that. Someone who's always sniffing around, waiting for any little thing. And you've definitely got that guy. The numbers he scored in the league last season, 9, not really that impressive. But then they don't have to be if you're going to work on him and if you're going to give him chances with better footballers around him. So for me, that's another. For me personally, I don't know if it might work out, but for me, that's an unbelievable signing. I'm pretty jealous, to be honest. So good luck to you on that. Yeah, all in all, 7.5 for you lot, I'd say.
Do you how many goals do you reckon he's going to score in the season?
He could score 15 easily, bro.
the 20.
With those predatory instincts, he's already got the makings of someone who's hungry for goals. And for me, so many strikers are lacking that. So many strikers are amazing at all the other stuff, the little fancy, the flicks, this and that, the nutmegs, whatever it might be. But they don't want to get their nose bloody to get a goal. This guy, I get that from this guy, and that's rare, man. Those Van Nistelrooys, those Shevchenkos, those Crespos, all those legendary strikers, they all had this. That the Trezeguets, the Morientes, they won't do much in the game, and then Inzaghi, they won't do much in the game, and before you know it, bang, 1-0. And next thing you know,
someone like that who was a very old, who's called Cavani, very similar to that, was never there. All of a sudden, Booth would be there.
One of those guys, predatory goal scorers. There's a reason that they're the most expensive kind of players on the planet, positionally, because goals win you games, games win you matches, matches win you trophies, and they get goals.
How many times do we get the ball into the box and there's never a striker in there to hit on that ball? How many times?
I got to argue with that one.
So many chances, so many.
You've seen that yesterday, I think the second half of yesterday's game, I think you've seen a lot more of what Ten Hag wanted if we were playing with a striker. Even Rashford was looking up and putting him in the box. I didn't even know we had it from, but you know what I mean? He was looking for them crosses. They were all looking for them, especially when Sancho came in. I know he's not up to his best. I know he's not a sparkling best, but I think he will when he has a proper number 9.
From everything I've heard, these look very promising down the middle in that false 9, occupying the little pockets.
He wasn't great today, what I've seen of him, but I wasn't watching 100%. I'm not going to lie.
But maybe he'll play better when there is actually a striker on the team. Him knowing that there's a striker there, maybe he'll start playing better because he knows he got a target player to go to give that ball and assist those goals, like what he did with Haaland at Dortmund.
And I'm going to say something really controversial here. I think Bruno Fernandes is going to struggle with a proper number 9.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have to learn to be patient and not take one touch, boof, look for that worldy ball. I think he's going to have to be patient, play the ball from feet to feet to feet to feet, then look for that cross in. Because you need your striker to be in the box to score goals.
He will either thrive off of having somebody to pick out, or he'll fail for somebody occupying the spaces that he normally occupies to get goals. It'll be one or the other. But I hear you.
And you know why? I think that's why Mount's been brought in.
To create chances.
So possibly, if that does happen, he could play number 10. And he will play that type of role where he can actually play the number 10 in a different way. Like a Donny van der Beek can play that number 10 role in a totally different style.
Off the striker and running in behind off a flick off.
Have you noticed he started doing that in the preseason? He was doing those run-ins, kind of like
yeah. And I think Ten Hag's got one or two tricks up his sleeve. I really do. I don't think I think we're going to see a couple of different things played over the season that we're not expecting in the different positions, and I think we're going to see a totally different team from the first game of the season to the last game of the season. That's what I'm going to say.
You've got some areas to address, though.
100%. But
you got this
more than one window.
You've got this conundrum at right back where you've got a defensively minded fullback who 1-on-1 standing challenge, 1v1 duels is as good as anything on the planet. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, right? Technically, he's improved, so he's getting involved. He's tucking in, he's picking up the ball, he's driving into midfield with it. His link play is improving, but when it comes down to the final third, if there's a shot on goal to happen, he'll blaze it over. If there's a cross to be put in, it's got to be done first time, he'll overcook it. And then you've got Dalot, who excels in all those things that AWB has weaknesses on, but is average defensively. You would love a hybrid player that has the best of both of those qualities, so you don't have that. I think Luke Shaw now is a cert, and that's that. He's had his critics, and he's definitely had his fault.
Yeah, and at the moment, I think the best person that would probably take over him in the next 3-4 years is probably that Fernandez, Alvaro Fernandez, whatever his name is. He's looking really good, but he's nowhere near ready yet. So I think we need to make Luke Shaw last. But yeah, right. I've got to go, guys. So that's me done for today. But
This one, it's been a good one. Been a good one.
how? Any more questions for you guys?
Dale?
What do you think of Fabio Vieira?
Oh, good question.
I hate him with a passion.
Hmm.
So when I say hate, I'm not referring to him personally. Obviously, I don't know him personally.
No.
He's a nice, young Portuguese, floaty, thin, lightweight, uh, attacking midfielder who's quite creative. He can play. He is a number 10. Basically, he's your typical Portuguese style number 10, very much in the mold of Bernardo Silva. But his decision making is poor. He's very lightweight, and I don't mean go in the gym, jump on the steroids, and get a hench. But he's thinner than even thin footballers, and he gets barged over quite easily. His decision making is poor. He's quite selfish in his position. His decision making. Sorry, he has got tons of development to do, physically and tactically. But one good thing for him that stands in his favor is that technically he's excellent. So the hardest thing to do, which is be an actual good footballer, he's already got it automatically. But
Yeah.
I can't suffer a season of watching him getting picked over the likes of a Trossard or a Reece Nelson or a Martinelli or whoever it might be. I don't have the time as an Arsenal fan to be babying people and watching people develop. I don't have the time for it. From every bit that I've seen, every time he gets on it, he infuriates me. And I just don't have the time for it. I know he scored the winning penalty for us today, and I know he scored a cracker against Barcelona. But the things that he's doing well, I don't have doubts that he can do well because I'm seeing him do them. But his deficiencies are just too much for me to suffer. And I would rather he was either sold, loaned, or moved on, because I suffer when I watch him play football. He makes me suffer. And it's rare that I say that about a player because I'll always find the good in every one of our players. But I don't have time for him. And we paid 30 million for him. 30 million quid for someone who's on the fringes of even being good enough for the reserves. Not for me. Not for
So it's a
me.
loan option then, you're saying, is it? You would loan him?
Permanent loan, preferably.
Oh, you want him gone?
A permanent loan if there's
How
such
old is
thing.
he?
I think he's 21.
Should be hitting first team by now, shouldn't he? Really?
Or at least
Everyone
looking
needs
like,
him.
or at least looking like he belongs. He doesn't look like he belongs.
Mm.
He'll go and thrive somewhere else. But right now, I'm not having him.
Is
I'm
he
not
one of
having
those
him.
people who would fit into like a mid-table Premier League team, perfect, or
He,
does
he,
he
would- he
fall
would
flat?
he would dazzle for any other team from 7th and below. But right now, for what we are, he ain't down with the program that we're all on.
He reminds me of a Fulham player, if I'm really honest.
Take him.
A Fulham player.
Take him.
They won't
He,
pay the money for him now.
No.
he will have a successful football career somewhere, but it doesn't look like it's with Arsenal. For me,
You know what?
Same, really.
one of the first names on the chopping block for me.
I also
Is-
feel
Yourself?
the same way about Hannibal as well. The last few games I've seen him play, he's had a few good touches around in the box, but like the way he played today, the way he's played in the last few games that I've seen in the preseason,
Scruffy.
I think he's not United material, and he's coming
No.
of age now where he's at that point where he should be in a first team, and I think maybe it's time for him to move on as well.
Scruffy. He's very scruffy, isn't
Yeah.
In a way of his play, yeah, I think so.
I'm again, Hannibal's the same type of player as you just said. He needs to go. Personally, I think I wouldn't. You could probably get 15 million from him, easy. 10 million maybe on a good day. You know, I mean, 10 to 15 million with add-ons, probably 10 million with add-ons, 15, whatever you can get for him. But personally, I wouldn't. I can't see him being in United's future. Personally, which is a shame, really, because I like the guy. He's a fucking
That-
idiot, which I like about him. You know what I mean?
that Kobe Mainu?
Yeah.
He's in a handful of preseason games. He looks first team ready.
I love him. The problem is now he's out for 3 months. That's the
Yeah.
issue now.
Yeah.
But hey, I don't mind that because that forces him to be with the first team. If that makes sense, they can't loan somebody out who's going to be injured for 3 months. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you.
So I don't mind that because he'll still. I don't think he'll be loaned out in January, and I think he will just stay with the team, and I think he'll thrive better, especially with the likes of Casemiro. And if we're going to get Amrabat, he can learn off them. Even
Yeah.
though they're two very different but similar, different players, but in the same position as him. I
Yeah.
think he'll learn and thrive off them both.
He's kind of
I
like
like.
a 50-50 player, isn't he? He's like a defensive, but also he's also attacking as well. He's not like just like a Casemiro or Amrabat where they're just defensive. He's
Mhm.
also can do both of that, and which is quite rare as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Positive. Positive to see a United Academy graduate actually looking like he's got a chance and a sniff at the first team and looking good as well. Not like a McTominay where you've got to wait 4 years for him to do anything decent.
You still haven't seen anything different. We still waited 4 years. Like, let's be honest now, the kid's what, 28? 27?
26.
Still. Even if we wait another 2 years, 28, still nowhere
Yeah.
near.
Yeah.
We,
He's
we
already.
had Jesse Lingard do the exact same thing. He was still a youth player at the age of 30 at Manchester United, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You
He's
know
still.
what I mean?
He's still 22 to me.
Oh, mate, that kid just never got it young, did he? But but yeah,
That's-
like there's a lot of work to be done at Manchester United. Arsenal looking good. So I'm gonna ask you now, where do you reckon Arsenal are gonna finish this season?
Before this game, I would have said I like our chances at winning the league if we can build off of what we did last season. After seeing this, you have to concede City are the favourites. So it's going to have to be. It even sounds weird saying it. It's going to have to be second.
Oof.
I think
Yeah,
second.
I think that's the issue. I think that's the issue is that you're the only people I think that can get close to City, and I still don't think you're 100% there. I think you're like 94, 4 or 5% there. You're just missing
It's
that extra 5%.
it's one thing having the likes of a City to be up against for the title. Cool, no problem, challenge accepted. But when I can't have 100% faith in what my own team is doing, then I can't back us. Honestly speaking, I can't put us in the conversation. I think there's just too many liabilities in these in this team right now. Still, Gabriel at centre back, always got a ricket and a mistake in him. I don't care how consistent he's been. I don't care how aggressive he is, how passionate he is, how many headers and challenges he wins. He's always got a ricket and a mistake in him. And then obviously the centre forward position. So, like, if you look at City, I can't look at one single footballer who I look at and be like, target him. There's not one. But here, I can name at least maybe three.
Mate, it's not one on the bench. When you see this Palmer kid, that I haven't really know much about, come on and do that in such a high pressure game as well, which is high pressure for him. You know, he's coming and going first versus second. He's come on, and he's just scored an absolute beauty of a goal. To go
He was
1-0 up.
he's the kid who started up front for England under 21s in the tournament that just happened in the summer. I think he got the winning goal in the final against Spain to beat them. He was up front with Anthony Gordon of Newcastle and Smith Rowe. So he's already got big game experience anyway. But yeah, he's been a name that's been floating around there now for a little bit. So fair play to him.
And I think Mahrez
He's
going has just opened the way up for him a little bit, isn't it?
Eh?
Mahrez going has opened the way up for him.
Yeah,
That first team chance.
exactly.
Dale, United, where do you think they're going to finish, mate?
Be honest now, no red tinted spectacles, please.
Yeah, you better take them off.
I think
Step on them.
between third or second. Could be third or second this year.
Third or second?
That's
But the only thing is, I don't like saying this, but I think it really depends on where Liverpool are going to be this season, whether they're going to be ahead in the game. We haven't heard much about them. This season, the previous season, they had, of course, a very poor season apart from the odd few results. But I think if Liverpool come back as what they were before the last year, then they could potentially be up there as between second or third as well.
Really? Really?
Nah.
I think so. I
Have you
think
been
so.
watching?
It depends
you
on who
been
they
watching?
buy this summer.
Have you Have you been watching Liverpool in pre-season? They were playing against some Wi-Fi password, some team that sounded like a Wi-Fi password, and they took a 2-0 lead, and they ended up drawing 4-4, right, against a bunch of nobodies. And a lot of their first teamers were playing in that one. And then just recently, they just played against Bayern Munich again, 2-0 lead, and they ended up losing the game 4-3. And I was looking at the goals because I didn't want to just look at the results. I wanted to look at the performance. Joel Matip at the back, Van Dyer at the back. Brent in midfield getting absolutely ran ragged. Jordan Henderson left, so no legs in the midfield. McAllister, who's basically a creator, he can't. He doesn't replace Henderson like for like. Fabinho's just gone to Saudi as well. Like there's a lot of holes in Liverpool, Dale.
Shall I tell you my thoughts? I think in order, it'll be City, Arsenal, Chelsea, United.
Chelsea.
Mate, they've got no Champions League football. They've got nothing to worry about on a Thursday.
You got to look at their team, mate. You got to look at that. They got one senior midfielder, Enzo Fernandez, and the rest are kids.
I think they'll be fine. I really do. I generally feel I think a lot of people will be shocked about him this season. And I'm really worried about him because they got nothing to worry about. They've only got the FA Cup and the Carabao and the league. That's it. That's all they got to worry about. 3 things.
What about Newcastle?
How is their midfield going to hold up?
I still think they're going to get Casado. If they get him, I think they'll do really well. I generally think they will. I think they'll just chuck the money at him, and then they'll get him personally. Look, I think they're a dark horse that they need to be watched out for. Personally, I really do.
Fair.
What about Newcastle as well?
Champions League, mate. They're fucked. When you're buying Gordon, you've got no fucking chance of you. Let's be honest now.
People go on about juggling the Champions League along with the Premier League. I mean, it's just one extra game in the middle of the week, right?
It's just traveling now, isn't it? You need the squad depth.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Good point. Good
And
counter.
I don't think Newcastle have got the squad depth. They're buying what's his name, Gordon's, whatever his name is. I haven't got a clue. I can't remember his name.
They bought Gordon. They had him last season from Everton, and now they've signed Harvey Barnes from.
Harvey Barnes, that's the one. Oh my god, what is that?
You don't rate him?
No,
You don't rate him?
really. I don't like him at all, mate. I think you're one of the richest clubs in the world, and you buy him. What?
You'll be surprised.
I don't know. I'm not a massive fan. If personally, I would. To be honest, I'm not a massive fan of Eddie Howe anyway. So maybe that's why my judgment's a bit clouded, maybe. But
Is that because of the 10-hour dressing room thing?
No, I have seen that. He just a fucking dosser, isn't he? Let's be honest now. Fucking hell, if you're classing them as match wins and you're celebrating them, fucking hell, you deserve to be in the championship, mate. Jesus, win a trophy, you want to?
Well, they were in the championship, and they did win the trophy. They won that trophy, didn't they, to win the league? And they won it by
last season they won fuck all out, didn't they? So
they outplayed you though in that final, mind.
Did they lift the trophy out?
And then they got you back 2-0 at St James's Park as well. Just saying.
Yeah, but that's what the motivational speech was, wasn't it? You know what I mean? The fucking tossers, you know what I mean? Anyway, they're going to suffer this season anyway because they won't be able to run 60 minutes down on the clock. So
you've really got it. You United lot have really got it in for Newcastle since last.
I hate them with a passion, mate. Not as much as Arsenal, but hey, let's not get into that one now. Right, that's me done anyway. Thanks for the conversation, guys. Dale, actually legend. Nori, legend. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll be back again soon. I don't know when. Probably next weekend when does the football kick off next weekend?
I think so.
Woo! That's gonna be a busy weekend. Catch you later. Peace.
Adios.
This one.